President Trump working overtime to get his one big, beautiful bill over the finish line. Trump now inviting Speaker Mike Johnson and members of the House Freedom Caucus who are opposed to the bill's big spending to the White House. That meeting expected in about an hour from now.
And that White House huddle comes after a marathon hearing on Capitol Hill. The House Rules Committee convening at 1 a.m. Eastern time to debate Trump's bill, a hearing that is actually, if you can believe it, still going on. Our congressional correspondent, Kimberly Ducard, she's live on Capitol Hill, and she's joined by the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Congressman Jason Smith. Kim, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Bob, Katrina, good to be with you. Obviously, big meeting happening at the top of the hour. House Speaker Mike Johnson, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Whip Tom Emmer, members of the House Freedom Caucus. They're going to meet with President Trump, where we expect to hear the president tell those members that he wants to get this done today. Of course, they've been working under a different timeline, trying to get some of these last-minute items ticked off of their agenda. That is a full repeal of the Inflation Reduction Act, clean energy credits, and also some more changes to Medicaid and all of this. But I have the privilege of being joined right now by, of course, Chairman Jason Smith of the House Ways and Means Committee. He has been a huge advocate for this bill, and I think it's also important to talk about what is at stake here in passing this. We've got, obviously, the biggest one is the tax cuts. So tell us a little bit about why this needs to be pushed forward now.
It is so important. If we do not pass this bill, every single American will face on average a 22% tax increase. That's 207 million taxpayers that they don't know what their tax rates are going to be next year. The child tax credit gets slashed in half from $2,000 to $1,000. Guaranteed deduction, which the majority of Americans use to file their taxes, gets slashed in half. But not to mention, this bill also provides the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, no tax on auto loans of cars made in the United States. So everything that the president is campaigned on, that he promised voters, we're delivering on, and failure is not an option. We're going to get this done.
What is your message to your colleagues right now that haven't been able to get to a yes vote? We know there's some different contingents that we're working with, whether it's members of the House Freedom Caucus or the so-called SALT caucus that have been negotiating to raise those state and local tax deduction caps. What's your message to them right now?
If we do not pass this, there will be zero spending cuts. If we do not pass this, there will be zero IRA credits from the Inflation Reduction Act repealed. If we do not pass this, every single American will face a tax increase. This is go time. We put in forth the work. You cannot allow perfection to be the enemy of good. This is a great bill. It delivers for working class families, small businesses, and farmers. They're going to come to the table. They're going to do the right thing. They're going to pass this bill for the American people.
What's your level of optimism that the president in this meeting at the top of the hour will be able to move the ball down the field and we could potentially see a vote this afternoon?
The president is the best whip in all of Congress. We would probably still be voting on Speaker of the House right now if it wasn't for President Trump. And it's the same way. People have underestimated the product here in the House. They didn't think Republicans alone could fund government. They didn't think we could pass a budget resolution that increased the debt extension. We did it. They didn't think we would pass the Senate one. We did it. And we're at this point of right now of one big, beautiful bill that addresses border security, unleashes U.S. energy, provides tax relief for working families, small businesses, and farmers. We're going to get the job done.
All right, Chairman Smith, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time today. And of course, we'll be watching very carefully what comes out of that. You know, the House Rules Committee is still meeting right now. Democrats, of course, are trying to drag out this process as long as possible. But there is progress that is being made, and we'll again be watching to see if this hits the House floor tonight. Katrina, Bob?
Okay, drama and suspense on Capitol Hill. Kimberly Ducard, thank you.
All right, let's bring in Wake Up America co-host Mark Lauder, and we're bringing back journalist and author of Second Class, Batya Ungar-Sargon, here in studio with us. All right, Mark, one big, beautiful bill. Is it going to get there?
It's going to be tough. You had House Freedom Caucus Chairman Andy Harris this morning on our show on Wake Up America said he's a no vote, and he's got 15 no votes. And the problem is that the SALT caucus wants increase for state and local tax deductions, which costs more money. And Andy Harris and the Freedom Caucus, they want to cut more spending. And you can't have both. So the math's not working. They'll get there. I'm just not sure they'll get there today. If anyone can do it, it'll be President Trump.
Batya, your take?
So here's the problem the Republicans have. They want three things. They want to balance the budget. They want to do these tax cuts, including tax cuts for the wealthy, whether it's the SALT or whether it's the top bracket. And then they want to be the party of the working class. And the problem is you can only have two out of the three. Now, I obviously think being the party of the working class is a huge, huge, huge thing. But you can't say we're the party of the working class and then insist on giving tax cuts to rich people, whether it's in New York or whether it's the top bracket. And here's the thing that I think Republicans need to understand. Hiking taxes on the very wealthy is extremely popular, including with Republican voters. And I think that's why the president has sort of said both things about this. On the one hand, he understands that there are people in his caucus who, to them, being a Republican means tax cuts. That is not how the vast majority of working class Republican voters feel. And it's time to really put your money where your mouth is and be the party of the working class.
That's interesting. I mean, because Mark, to Batya's point, obviously we know that the demographics of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have changed significantly, whereas the Democrats used to be the party of the working class, but no more.
No, and it's a real challenge as the new America First Party or MAGA Party is really kind of taking shape. But you still have a lot of old school Republicans, and I've been in Republican politics for decades now, who believe all taxes are bad and all taxes should be cut versus that new reality that you were just talking about. So it's going to be interesting to see how they balance these three competing issues. I think you can at least keep the current tax cuts that are in place. Keep them there, expand them for the working class. There is a cost to it, but they can get some spending down. They can reduce some of the IRA spending from the misnamed Inflation Reduction Act. But it's going to be a definite balancing act, and it's going to be a problem for Republicans moving forward of how do you balance these competing interests of what Republicans have stood for historically versus this new, growing, expanding coalition.
Right. And of course, we will see what President Trump is able to do when he meets with the Freedom Caucus members coming up very, very soon. Mark, Batya, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys.
So much for making Hollywood great again. Top stars are slamming President Trump at the Cannes Film Festival as the president looks to give the entertainment industry a much needed boost. That's coming up in the other view.
And in New Orleans, the city remains on edge as 5 escaped convicts. They are still on the loose after the prison break. Latest developments on that inside job in the Big Easy next.
It's true. I am an America First, liberty-loving Latino. That's why I know this country is worth fighting for. That's why the Chris Salcedo Show will always tell you the truth.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.
You need new replacement windows, but you're just not sure if they're in the budget this year, right? I'm Brian Gary here with Ted Coons from Renewal by Anderson, and he's here to talk about how to make window replacement more affordable.
Well, first, Brian, you don't have to do them all. You could just replace your worst windows first. Or another way to make them affordable is to change the style of window. For example, you could do a gliding window instead of a casement. We have a lot of ways to make window projects really affordable.
Compared to other window companies, you have a completely different business model.
Yeah, with other companies, there's just too many people involved in the process. There's the manufacturer, the seller, and then the installer, and then the customer. And if you call with a problem, that's when they say, oh, well, we're the manufacturer. You have to call the installer for that problem, or vice versa. We're the full-service replacement window division of Anderson. With us, there's no passing the buck. At Renewal by Anderson, we sell, build, install, and warrant our windows and patio doors. So if there's ever an issue, we take full responsibility for it.
Why don't you sell vinyl windows?
It doesn't matter if it's a $200 window or a $1,200 window. A lot of vinyl windows just don't last. For energy efficiency and beauty, there's a much better option. Our Windows Fibrex composite material is available in 9 designer colors, and it's much more durable than vinyl. Well, Fibrex is low maintenance like vinyl, but stronger than vinyl. And it's beautiful like wood, but doesn't require the upkeep of wood.
Save $400 on every window and save $850 on every patio door and entry door with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 12 months. At Renewal by Andersen, we want to take care of the people who take care of us. That's why we're proud to offer an additional $300 discount to our military. We truly appreciate you. Call 1-800-514-3600.
Cabinets to Go has designed and sold over 250,000 kitchens nationwide, and they can design a beautiful, high-quality and affordable kitchen makeover for you that is sure to wow.
When I first saw my cabinets, I couldn't believe I was in the same house.
Cabinets to Go, wow for less.
Donald Trump is keeping his promises, and he is on his way to achieving many things that other presidents have only dreamed of. We created the DT-47 to honor the president's great accomplishments. But now we want to introduce the new satin, highly polished package, DT-47, and you can see the difference there. Hand polished, beautiful gun.
To get more information on these exciting new offerings, go to getbondarms.com.
The first time that I tried Genucel, I immediately saw a difference under my eyes, and I felt like there was hope for my skin.
Guys like things that are easy. Do it, get it done, and let's move on. And with Genucel, it was easy to do that.
Order now and save up to 70% off retail. Plus, get the breakthrough Genucel eyelid treatment for droopy eyelids and classic Genucel serum for under eye bags and puffiness. Guaranteed, or your money back. Go to Genucel.com now. That's Genucel.com.
Well, it's been 5 days since 10 inmates staged a daring escape from the Orleans Parish Justice Center. And today, authorities confirming that 5 of the escapees are now back in custody. The most recent capture, Corey Boyd, a violent offender who is behind bars for second-degree murder, attempted murder, aggravated battery, and threatening a public official.
Quite the rap sheet there. According to Louisiana State Police, the escape has triggered a massive manhunt involving more than 200 law enforcement officers, and the search has now spilled into the heart of the French Quarter, where surveillance video captured several of the fugitives. They were on the run. Currently, a $20,000 reward is being offered for tips that lead to the arrest of each of the 5 inmates still on the run. You're seeing their pictures right there. Meanwhile, an employee at a New Orleans jail is now facing criminal charges for allegedly helping the 10 inmates escape. Crime correspondent Jason Matera, he's tracking the latest developments. Jason.
Bob, Katrina, this arrest confirms what investigators suspected from the beginning. This was an inside job, and now we're getting a clearer picture of just how calculated this jailbreak really was. Authorities say Sterling Williams, a 33-year-old maintenance worker, shut off the water in a cell, allowing inmates to remove a toilet, saw through steel bars, and then crawl through a hole in the wall. But here's the wrinkle. According to the arrest warrant affidavit obtained by NEWSMAX, Williams claimed he was threatened by one of the fugitives, told he'd get shanked if he didn't help with the escape. But officials say Williams didn't notify the jail personnel of the plans. He didn't even come forward after the fact. So far, 3 jail employees have been suspended, and law enforcement isn't ruling out more arrests. Governor Jeff Landry blasted the jailbreak as a case study in progressive failure, calling it the direct result of coddling criminals instead of protecting communities. Take a listen.
The irony of the progressive promises that have been made to the city is clear. New Orleans handed the jail keys to those who vowed to keep criminals out of jail. And sadly, today, we show that it worked. I hope that everyone understands that the video of those prisoners escaping epitomizes a progressive criminal justice system.
Governor Landry may be onto something. Sheriff Susan Hudson, who runs the Orleans Parish Jail, has been more focused on progressive projects than basic public safety. The Louisiana Attorney General, for instance, says the sheriff refuses to cooperate with ICE on criminal detainers. And after getting elected, Hudson announced plans to house inmates based on how they felt about their gender identity and not according to their biological sex. Now Hudson is facing tough questions from the city council, forced to explain how her jail let 10 people break free and why it took hours for her office to notify the public that dangerous inmates were on the loose. As you said, the top 5 still remain on the run, some of whom were locked up on murder charges. Bad dudes.
Clearly, bad dudes. Hate to hear that. Hopefully they get them soon, huh?
That's right.
Jason Matera with the update. Thank you. Joining us now to discuss, retired FBI supervisory special agent and co-director of the Criminal Justice Institute, Scott Duffey, plus former acting chief of the FBI's International Corruption Unit, Ren McEachran. Good to see you both. Ren, I'm going to start with you here. How do you go about tracking them down? Do you think these fugitives are still local in New Orleans? Did they have help waiting for them when they got out? What do you think's going on?
Yeah, well, as a former FBI agent, and I actually worked in jail before the FBI, once these guys get out, they're extremely dangerous, number one, and they often have networks in advance in position to help them move. And they're going to move across state lines as fast as they can. Maybe not all of them are completely organized, but if they're organized enough, they're going to have resources to get them very far away. And law enforcement use every resource possible to find these guys quickly. Again, these are the most dangerous types of persons. A convicted felon that's on escape from jail has nothing to lose, so they have to be caught immediately.
Scott, when we spoke with you yesterday, I know that you said that as we're learning about this group of 10 escapees, and you said there were probably more who wanted to go with them as well, that you wouldn't be surprised if there were more and more people helping them from the inside or potentially even on the outside. And I know investigators are looking into that more. Too big of an operation just for one guy to help turning off the water.
I would agree, Katrina. You have one that's charged, and I believe that's a low-level employee with regards to doing something as easy as shutting the water off. But, it would be interesting to see when this took place, when this threat that apparent threat with regards to the life, so thereby he shuts the water off. But I believe there are others that knew. You have those who are in charge of watching surveillance, those who are patrolling outside. There seems to be multi-levels of failure here.
Ren, want to kind of switch gears a little bit here, but still talking about the prison break. During this manhunt, the New Orleans police, they reportedly received secret facial recognition alerts from a privately funded network of surveillance cameras operating across their city. The system's run by a nonprofit. It has scanned both residents, visitors, quietly flagging faces for police without public oversight. The technology helpful for cases like this, getting to violent criminals when they bust out. Some people think this is a little bit of government overreach, tracking everyone in the city. Here are your thoughts while we discuss the escapees.
Yeah, the reality is law enforcement is using facial recognition more often than ever before. However, you have to be transparent in the use and make sure that you are taking on the privacy concerns of our citizens, even those people that are in jail. Right? It has to be done in a way that there's not a secret or it's being done as hidden from the public. It has to be transparent. Otherwise, it should not be done. It has to be done, again, with ethic purposes, with very strong oversight. But it's a very important tool and often can lead to great lead generation, especially for capture of people like this.
I want to go back, Scott, before we run out of time, just to the escape itself, because when we're looking at those images of the location where these 10 inmates escaped behind that toilet, you're looking at it right there. I mean, they would have had to somehow get through or break through that wall. How would they even do that without someone noticing that they were, I don't know if that's concrete that we're looking at. I mean, that's not going to be, something you can do silently in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Katrina. This is, I think the evidence is there just with that alone, that there were additional resources that were provided to them long before that very day.
Or maybe even, I'm just thinking if someone literally, let them turn a blind eye or intentionally was like, okay, I'm not hearing that loud noise going on. Again, the time will tell, of course. But again, incredible story. Ron, Scott, thank you so much.
Coming up, Democratic Congresswoman LaMonica McIver making her first appearance in federal court today as members of her party. They are reportedly planning to double down and hold protests at ICE facilities. More of them in coming days. That's ahead.
But first, the stars are slamming the president from over the seas as he looks to lend a helping hand to